Hey, look at that come in here, huh? So I'm kind of coming over the horizon. Started getting the indications on a weather station about lightning getting closer and closer. And the wind picked up to, near hurricane level here a minute ago, and you can see the big rain clouds coming. Yeah, we're fixing to get it out here all right. So that kind of shoots today's video where I was planning to go underground. Ain't no way I'm going on a mine shaft with this stuff coming in. But I've got something else in plan, so stay tuned, mine fans. We got this. Hey, where you going, dummy? Wind's blowing your ears off. Cleo, come on, get back in here. Let's go inside. Ain't fit out for miner or dog. It's about to get worse. Stay tuned, mine fans. There's a desert blow coming. Yeehaw. So like I said, I'd planned to go underground today. In fact, I was going to go down, work on the Columbia shaft. But the Columbia's got that nice incline that's open to the weather. And we're getting this storm coming in. The last thing I'm going to do is be down that shaft when water is pouring down. So I'm going to stay inside here today and ride out this thunderstorm that's coming. And I figure this would be a great time to talk about something that a lot of people have asked me about one-on-one. And that is, the engineering aspects of being a one-legged miner. Prosthetics being what they are, there's definitely an art and a science to them and a whole lot of information, and a lot of people are curious. So today we're going to talk about, the legs behind the one-legged miner. And yes, there are more than one. So to start off, let's discuss how I get to be a one-legged miner. Some of you know, a lot of you don't. I've never been shy about it, but I haven't really told the story to everybody. It goes back a ways. August 3rd, 2005. I was a motorcycle riding cop. I'm on vacation. In fact, it was the first day I'm on vacation. My friend Aaron and I had planned a dive charter up on Lake Huron. Had a boat all rented, and we were going to go up there and dive Georgian Bay for a little bit, see some wrecks. It was going to be great. Unfortunately, law enforcement being what it is, I also had a couple court cases that came up on that day. So even though it was the first day I'm on vacation, I went to work, grabbed a motorcycle because it's a lot easier to park those down at court, and went down to handle my cases. Me being me, of course, I won both my cases because I was that good. And on the way back, I stopped to gas the motorcycle up. I'd already told Aaron, hey, I just got these cases. I'll be up there next day. As soon as I get home, grab my gear, throw it in the car. See you the next day. Not a problem. All set for the 8-hour drive from the D.C. area back up to Michigan where we're going to be diving. Well, I pulled in to gas the bike up. And when I was coming out of the maintenance yard, I don't remember anything after that. I got broadsided by a car. Lady was doing 20 miles over the speed limit. Not sure as to the circumstances because I don't remember. There were no other witnesses to it. Even she doesn't remember what happened. But all I know is, I woke up in fits and spurts in the hospital over the next couple of days there. And when I finally got out of the hospital 3 weeks later, I was short a left leg from the knee down. Kind of sucks. See what happens when you make plans or go to work on vacation? There's a lesson here. Never go to work on vacation. I've been medevac twice on that job, and both times was on my day off. So hard workers are the ones that take it in the nuts, folks. Anyway, a lot of really good support from my friends and coworkers all through the healing process. But long story short, did lose a leg. However, it's kind of hard to keep you down when you really get motivated. And a year later, we made the same dive trip off the same boat, the same spot, and it was fantastic. Just need a little adaptative engineering, i.e. the prosthetic legs. And I do have more than one of them. So I figure we'll go through those today, and I'll show you what I use for legs here. First of all, let's start with the attachment system. The legs, such as they are held on by this neoprene liner with a gasket here that once they're inserted into the leg, it forms a airtight seal. There's a valve that creates a vacuum. So they hold on pretty tight, and to get it off, I have to press a button and release the vacuum, which usually works pretty good unless I've got it filled up with mine dirt, which occasionally does tend to happen. And then getting them off requires a couple extra sets of hands, some tools, a hammer, and a lot of profanity. But we're working on that fix too. These liners, unfortunately, tend to cost, several $100s each, and I wear through them pretty quick, especially when I drag them in the gravel and cut holes in them, because once you braid some holes in them on the gravel or otherwise, the vacuum seal is gone. And they also tend to wear out just from general compression. And this has been a constant source of friction between myself and the Department of Labor, because they have their little tables that says how long these things should last, and they seem to think that these should last the average person, 8 months to a year. I burn through mine in a couple of months, and they sometimes have a problem replacing those, because after all, it's their money, it comes out of their pockets. But I've got a great prosthetic specialist I work with who helps me explain to them that, I do a little more work than the average amputee, a lot more rugged stuff, and I do damage these legs and put a lot more wear on them than the average person. So, there's hiccups, but it works. So let's talk legs. And here's the 4 that I use. I'm not a one-legged miner. I guess I'm actually more of a 5-legged miner, because I got, one factory original leg, the one that God gifted me to begin with. And then I got these 4 over here that I use for various things. Let's go through them in order, shall we? They're similar, but kind of different too, and each one's unique in its own way. First one here is my everyday walking leg here. And excuse the footwear that's already on them, so I'm not going to take a shoe off so we can look at what's left of the foot underneath. It's just basically a fiberglass, foot with a foam fitting on to fit the shoe. Kind of boring, but the heart and soul of the leg is, this titanium shaft, the fiberglass insert here. This one is the one I wear my everyday leg, which is why it's got more muck and dirt on it. This is the one I wear every day when I'm out and about. It's lightweight, flexible, pretty comfortable, and actually even articulates a little bit to accommodate different heel sizes. Very handy. Goes on just like I said, fiberglass inserted here's to the neoprene socket, just like that. Pressed on the valve, let the air out. Real nice vacuum seal. That sucker's not coming off. So that's the everyday leg. Also, when I'm down in the mines, I like to go with let's get these other guys out of the way here a minute. If I want to do any kind of heavy duty work underground, I get this older one, which has been kind of beefed up. Got the mine boot on with a really aggressive tread here. A little stronger shaft, a little stronger, laminate up here. And this is the one that I use for the heavy duty mine work. It can take a little more abuse, a little more scraping. As you can see, it's seen its share too. And this is the one that if I got to put a real load on, do a lot of climbing, it's a little more resistant to me getting rocks and gravel into it. If I was smart, I'd use it every time I went underground, but let's face it, I've been getting kind of lazy. I use this one over here, and that's the way it looks the way it does, and why it's also filled up with rocks and gravel. So they both got to go back for cleaning and refit soon. And this one's supposed to be like that. The other one, I just basically, because I've been too lazy to switch feet. But it's a good one. It's one of my older ones. It's the last of the old pattern. And I go through a leg every couple of years or so, get a bunch of new ones, because the leg itself changes shape. These wear out. Nothing lasts forever. For instance, one that I used to really get a lot of use out of, and I don't anymore, unfortunately. I love it, is this one here. This is a C leg. It's a carbon fiber, basically a spring. This one I use for running. Now, being an old one, you can see I have the external valve here for the vacuum. That's built into the ankles on the newer ones, but this is an older one. I used to use this one for running all the time back when I was, living up in DC and in New Orleans. I love to get out and run. In fact, a year after losing the leg, I ran the Army 10 miler, just basically to prove I could do it. And that wasn't with this one, that was with an earlier generation. When I first lost my leg, these things were so crude. They had to be pretty much custom fabricated by prosthetic offices. There was no real set pattern to them, but with the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, and a lot more vets coming back who wanted to be able, there was a real demand for this. So companies, partnered with offices like Nike, and got these nice. They're adjustable now. The shoe can be removed. Much better aggressive tread to it. And when I wear through that bottom, I can get a new one on there instead of just having to, I mean, my old one is basically putting an industrial floor mat liner glued onto the bottom of a pretty crude, L-shaped, fiberglass, spring. This stuff is high-tech, state-of-the-art, not your dad's running leg, but it's been great. Even when I lived in New Orleans, I was out running 5-6 miles a morning, having a great time with this leg. Unfortunately, it does not work well in rough terrain where I'm at now, because if I don't actually see a change in the terrain, a little dip or a little rise, if I see them, great, but if I don't, the shock is very jarring and it will injure me and throw me to the ground, so I can't really run here. These are made for running on pavement. So until I can find some good level pavement to run on, this guy stays on the shelf or under the shelf. Another favorite of mine, this one here. Now there's a reason it looks all clean, because it spends a lot of time in the water. And that's why it's got the swimming foot on it too. This is my swim leg. Or I'm sorry, this is my shower leg, because the Department of Labor did not approve swim legs. They don't pay for those, but they definitely pay for adaptive appliances for taking showers. This is my shower leg, yeah. And the nice thing about the shower leg is it's got a little button down here, if I can find it and hold the phone. But when I press the little button, come on, I need 3 hands for this. Give me a second here. There we go. When I press the button, the leg articulates out and will lock in this place, so it can hold a fin or take a very aggressive position in the shower, I guess. But I can put scuba fins on this. I have. In fact, I've taken this swimming and diving a lot of places here in the U.S. and Mexico, and it's just a great piece of equipment. Waterproof, unlike the other ones. I can get this one wet. It's made for it. And it's actually, I can actually walk on it to a limited degree and use it as a walk. With my first swim legs, there's no way I could ever walk on them. Same for the running leg. The running legs of 10 years ago were just for running. You could not walk a regular walking stride on. There have been a lot of advances in prosthetic technology over the last 10 years. And again, I hate to say, gee, thanks for all the amputees coming back, but that's really what did it. There was no sport prosthetic industry until numerous soldiers and servicemen came back and wanted to remain active. And I've benefited from them, and I'm grateful. I'm also one of them, though. I mean, I told my first prosthetic specialist back then, I plan to stay active. I was going to get back and ride motorcycles and rock climb and scuba dive and rappel and do all those wonderful things that you see these amputees do on the covers of these magazines. And you realize those magazine covers are all fake, right? They don't really do those things. So it was fake until today, because I'm going to do this stuff. And lo and behold, I do it. And I go through these legs, a lot more than I'm supposed to again. Labor's not happy with me on it, but screw them. That's their job. Pay for this shit. Anyway, let's focus back on me for a sec. And here I am. So it took a little while to get used to these. Again, the first ones are kind of crude. In fact, the first ones I had were held in place with a pin that mated, the pin was on the bottom of the liner, and it mated with a socket on the inside of the prosthetic leg. It wasn't vacuum sealed. It was basically, pin, socket, release button. And they were uncomfortable and kind of a pain to deal with. But one thing that was really fun with it was back, I spent my first year back at work working in the court in D.C. I was a prosecutor for the U.S. Attorney's Office, because I did have a law degree, still do. So they'd had to put me somewhere while I was recovering, and they worked out a deal where they let me be a prosecutor for a year. So I sat there, and only real thing that was fun about that with the pin socket was I had a judge that he and I did not get along. His name was Truman Morrison. He was the chief judge at Superior Court back in the 2007, 2008 when I was there. And we did not get along because Truman Morrison hated prosecutors. Truman Morrison hated the police. He found out I was both, and I couldn't win a case in front of him to save my day. But he threw out a case I'd worked a lot on once. After I'd made the case, he even said, yeah, the government's proven the case, but I'm still not satisfied, so I'm dismissing it. And that was basically a dig at me. And there was a real victim in that case. I was pretty mad about it. I'm still mad about it. So I used to irritate Judge Morrison. I'd release the pin in my leg when he wasn't looking. I'd reach down and release it. And then when he'd be doing something else, reading something, I'd lean forward and press the pin back into place, and it would just ratchet and click, 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 click. And he'd look up, what is that? What was that? Who's making that noise? And I'd wait a little bit till it died off. I'd release the pressure on the pin. And as soon as he wasn't paying attention again, I'd lean forward and lock it in. Click, 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 click. And, oh, he would get so mad because he could never figure out what that clicking noise is. And he'd yell, I've had it. I want to know what that noise is. What is clicking in this courtroom? Who is doing that? Step forward right now. I want to know. I'm going to hold someone in contempt if we don't figure out what is making that noise. Well, he never did figure out. And I kept the secret until now. But, hey, Judge Morrison, it was me, you fat ass. 2008, that was me. I was making the clicks. Still mad about that case. But, life goes on. Anyway, I digress. You can have some fun with the prosthetics. That was honestly the only fun I ever had with those old ones. The new ones are much easier, much more comfortable, and they allow me to do things like, I ride motorcycles again. I fly airplanes. I drive heavy trucks. I can do pretty much everything except, golf and bowling. Be honest, my golf game really sucked beforehand. Anyway, I just can't do the golf stance or, get a good run up on the bowling alley anymore. So those are out the window. But I do everything, including the mining out here. I can climb the ladders. I can get up and down the slopes. I can climb the rocks because I've got this wonderful technology now that lets me do it. And, it's not like I just stumbled into this stuff and found a good expert to make it all happen. I owe a lot of this to one guy in particular. So probably more than anyone else, I owe a lot of the advances and abilities in my prosthetic shop here to a fellow named Leo Savoy of Precision Orthotics and Prosthetics in River Ridge, Louisiana. That's at 9531 Jefferson Highway, River Ridge, Louisiana, just outside of New Orleans. Leo is probably the Grand Jedi Master of prosthetic limbs, and we hit it off in a lot of ways because, one, Leo is a former cop himself, so we had that in common, and he understood what I needed to do. Leo is also a bilateral amputee himself, so there's nobody who understands prosthetics like someone who actually uses them and relies on them himself. I mean, I can say, yeah, something hurts, and your average prosthetic specialist is going to say, okay, I can kind of understand what you're coming from. Someone like Leo, who's got the actual experience and the skin in the game, or lack thereof, definitely gets it. So Leo and I have been working together since I first landed in New Orleans 7-8 years ago, and it was a match made in heaven. He makes some of the best devices for me, keeps my stuff running long after I've destroyed it or should have destroyed it. He battles the Department of Labor ceaselessly on my behalf and always wins. And he's a hell of a guy, too. I mean, I always enjoy being back in Louisiana, New Orleans, because I'm going to see Leo. We're going to go out for lunch. We're friends. Eventually, he's going to come out here and visit, and we'll do a future video. But if you're looking for someone who can do prosthetics, for yourself, for a friend, a family member, adults, kids, veterans, whatever, Leo is your guy. So I don't usually do commercials here, but I'm definitely going to do it for Leo because he's done me a million solids with my own prosthetics. So you can reach him via email at leo@precisionnola.com, Leo at PRECISIONNOLA, all one word, .com, or via his phone at 504-345-1781, and tell him Ross, the one-legged miner, sent you over there. And I do hope those of you in the amputee community who are watching this, you do take note. And, I refer Leo. I don't give references, and referrals easy, but Leo's a stand-up guy, and he's put me where I am today because he's the one who keeps me mobile and active. And because of his work, I'm able to work underground. And just one of those things, when someone does you good, you tell everybody. When someone does you bad, it's easy to complain, but when somebody does you good, you definitely got to get the word out. And Leo is fantastic in that regard. So I'm happy to have him in my orbit, as well as a lot of other people who've supported me along the way. It's been, we're getting on close to 18 years now. And honestly, it's hard to remember a time I actually had two legs. But there was a time I did. And there's really not much difference because I can still get a lot of stuff done just like I can now. And a lot of it is mind power. You got to make it a point to get up every day and get out there and get her done. So I had my bad days too back in the day, and some people were there to shore me up. And if I can shore up other folks, that's kind of my job. So what goes around comes around. I'm just happy to be alive, be this side of the dirt, and be mobile and able to actually do stuff. So I don't mourn the loss of the leg. I'm glad that the rest of me is still here. That's the win in my book. So that said, I'm going to quit rambling. The thunderstorm is still kind of raging outside, and the winds are still running 30 to 40. So I'm going to stay in here for the day. We're going to watch some TV. And if any of you have any other questions on prosthetics or the process, feel free to put it in the comments, or if you want to keep it private, just email me to tecopaminds@gmail.com. And if I can help you out, I'll sure do it, because one of these days you'll get a chance to help somebody else out. It all comes around, goes around. Anyway, have a great day, and hopefully tomorrow the weather will be clear and it can be back underground again. I miss it. See ya.